President Trump.
The conversation with Peter Dutton, what was that like last night?
Oh, it was a warm conversation. I feel for Peter Dutton. He was generous in his comments. I wish him and Kirralie and his family all the best. It's a tough business, politics. There's no doubt about that. And it would have been a tough night for Peter, but he was generous. He did mention my mum, and that was very kind of him, as well as mentioning Jodie and Nathan, and that was a very kind thing to do. I used to visit this coffee shop with my mum. I grew up just down the road here, and I did certainly think of her last night as well. She would be very proud, but I'm very proud of the Labor team that I lead, including this bloke here, the member for Bennelong. You know, he's rocked it. What's your two-party?
60-40.
60% in Bennelong for the Labor Party. One of the things that happened during this campaign, and Jerome represents it, is we had a redistribution. It became a Liberal seat, having won a seat off the Liberal Party, Bennelong, at the 2022 election. There wasn't 1 second that Jerome doubted his capacity to win. He just put his head down, did the work.
Today, the Australian people have voted for Australian values.
What an absolute bloody circus. You thought Aussie politics couldn't get messier. Mate, think again. Because what we just witnessed was not an election. It was a straight-up demolition. A political punch-up where both leaders ended up looking like clowns at the end of it. But let's not kid ourselves. The biggest joke of the night wasn't Peter Dutton losing his seat.
We didn't do well enough during this campaign, and I accept full responsibility for that.
It was Anthony Albanese standing on stage, grinning like a smug gala, acting like he's just won the World Cup. But here's the real kicker. While Albo was out there patting himself on the back, playing the humble champion behind closed doors, insiders are leaking that he mocked Dutton. Yeah, no cameras, no script. Just Albo. Cold as ice. Allegedly saying, "You lost? You're nothing, mate. You never had what it takes." Can you imagine that? The bloke who's been dragging the country through economic quicksand for 3 years suddenly thinks he's the king of Australia? Give us a break. And sure, Dutton copped it hard. Lost his seat in Dixon, a seat he held for nearly 2 decades. Poof. Gone. Just like that. Voters kicked him to the curb like yesterday's meat pie. But let's not sugarcoat it. Dutton didn't lose because Albo's some kind of genius. He lost because he played it soft, tried to walk the middle, and ended up pleasing bloody no one. The so-called strongman of the Liberals turned out to be just another career poly who couldn't read the room. Before we dive into this political circus disguised as leadership, where Albanese is strutting like a rock star, Peter Dutton just got publicly vaporised and the media's throwing confetti like it's a coronation. Smash that like button like it's Peter Dutton's seat in Parliament. Subscribe if you're tired of being spoon-fed smug headlines and fake humility. And hey, grab the new Albo-lutely Clueless shirt. Just $16 for the next 48 hours. Wear it while the media crowns their next untouchable hero. Now, while Albo was grinning for the cameras and clutching flags like it was some heroic movie ending, the economy's still in the toilet. Cost of living? Sky high? Groceries? Might as well mortgage your house for a lettuce. Housing crisis? Worse than ever. Immigration? Open floodgates, mate. And somehow, this government that presided over record debt, crumbling services, and a per capita recession won in a landslide. How? Seriously. How the bloody hell did that happen? Here's the ugly truth. Australians didn't vote for Albo because they liked him. They voted for him because the alternative was so bland, so weak, so utterly uninspiring that they figured, well, at least we know this guy already stuffed up. It's like being punched in the face and choosing to get punched again because you're used to the pain. And yet what does Albo do? Instead of showing humility, he takes victory laps, waxing poetic about his mum and some local cafe, while insiders say he's privately taking jabs at Dutton's lack of spine. One staffer even claimed Albo laughed and said, "Mate couldn't even hold his own seat." How's that for leadership? If that's true, and it's doing the rounds like wildfire, then we're looking at a Prime Minister more interested in settling scores than serving Aussies. But wait, it gets spicier. Albanese's government is already plotting to sneak the Indigenous voice to Parliament back in. You know, the one that was resoundingly rejected by Australians just 18 months ago. Penny Wong slipped up in an interview, basically admitting they're planning to go around the people and legislate it anyway. That's not democracy. That's straight up political arrogance. And remember, this is the same government that called you a bigot if you voted no. Now they're pretending the referendum never happened? What kind of fantasy land are we living in? And let's not pretend the media's innocent in all this. The ABC, The Guardian, and the rest of the latte-sipping left-wing crowd spent the whole night lecturing the Liberals on how to win like Labor. Oh yeah? You mean by gaslighting the public, throwing taxpayer money around like confetti, and pushing radical identity politics down everyone's throats? Nah, mate. No thanks. What's hilarious is how these same outlets blamed Dutton's downfall on his so-called culture war comments, as if speaking up against welcome to country ceremonies or the voice made him unpopular. But 83% of Aussies said they don't want welcome to country shoved into every workplace meeting, Anzac Day event and bloody footy game. So what gives? The media's gaslighting you. Again. And the Liberals? Let's be real. They've got no spine, no message, no clue. They spent the last few years trying to be Labor light, and now they're crying in their wheat bix, wondering why voters didn't show up for them. Weak, watered-down conservatism never works. You can't out-Labor. You've got to stand for something, or you'll fall for everything. And Dutton fell hard. Now he's out, Albo's in. But let me ask you this. What exactly has Albo done to deserve a second term? Can you name one big achievement that made your life better? No. That's because there isn't one. We've got higher debt, higher migration, higher prices, lower standards of living, and a government obsessed with cultural distractions instead of real solutions. And now they've got a mandate to go even harder in term 2. Strap in, Australia. It's going to be a wild ride. Meanwhile, the PM's walking around like a bloke who just scored the winning goal in the AFL Grand Final. Disciplined, orderly government, he says. Pull the other one. The country's falling apart, and this guy's talking about how proud he is of the flags and redistributions. And let's not forget, this is the same Anthony Albanese who said during the Voice referendum that Australians had a moral obligation to vote yes. He framed it like a test of your soul. Then when you voted no, he called it a disappointment. Now he wants to sneak it in the back door while no one's watching. That is the bloke who just humiliated Peter Dutton and thinks he's above scrutiny. Look, neither side of politics is covered in glory right now. One's a disaster, wearing a smug grin, and the other's a ghost of what it used to be, led by people who can't fight their way out of a wet paper bag. But if you think this election was the end of the drama, think again. It's just getting started. Because as Albanese sits on his throne, chuckling about how he crushed Dutton and planning his next ideological crusade, millions of Aussies are waking up broke, burned out, and bloody angry. This wasn't a win for the people, it was a win for spin, for media bias, and for a PM who's mastered the art of talking big and delivering nothing. So next time you see Albo, smile for the cameras and say, "We'll work hard every day for the Australian people. Just remember, behind closed doors, he might be laughing at you too, just like he laughed at Dutton. What a joke."